Hello there, lovely people. It's Alex from Nintendo Life here, and today we're going to be looking at 5 Mario games that you just flat out can't play anymore, or ever could in some instances. This video idea has been inspired by one Rabbit Luigi, who's a bit of a friend of the channel, who has thankfully given me full permission to use his idea. Hello, Will. Hi.
Hello.
Can I nick your video idea?
Can you nick my video idea? Yes, which video idea?
Thanks. Oh, and I should say, when I say you can't play these games anymore, I of course mean that you can't play them as they were intended, or you just can't play them fully for one reason or another. But anyway, that's more than enough waffling. Let's dive right into things. If you know your crappy Mario and Zelda games, you'll probably know about this one. Yes, this is a game for the wonderfully infamous Philips CDI, which I recommend absolutely nobody attempts to emulate. This game was never ever finished, but we do have access to the unfinished game file for some mad reason. You can run around with terrible controls, jump with terrible controls, get the mouse in the way partly because of terrible controls, and that's about it. Also, half the levels look like this. There's not an awful lot to this game because it never got that far in development, but it was originally pitched as a sort of successor to Super Mario World, as you can probably tell. Due to the Philips CDI using CDs as opposed to cartridges, there was room for some really impressive and large sprite work that you just wouldn't have been able to do easily on the SNES. If Nintendo had been behind the helm, this could have been a great little game. Sadly though, it wasn't, and more importantly, it never got any further in development than what you're seeing at the moment. And so we'll never be able to play a subpar Mario game with intangibly awful controls and weird collision detection. A true tragedy of our times.
Adventure is on the horizon. Stanley's going buggy. Mario Brothers have their hands full.
This may seem like a cheap choice, but bear with me. It'll make sense in a minute. There's a range of Game & Watch consoles that featured what was basically a boiled-down version of the Mario Bros. Arcade game, and they were everywhere. Common as muck they were. In fact, if you've got a couple of quid to plonk, you could jolly well get this right now and play it to your heart's content. However, there was a special version of this game made in 1987 that's so bloody rare it was outright unknown in collectors' circles for years. It was presented to winners of an F1 NES competition in the least Nintendo-y country in the world, Japan, and only 10,000 units were ever produced. In short, it's the rarest Game & Watch game in the world. Now, yes, it is technically the same game as one of the more common versions, but if you played one of those, do you really think you could claim that you've played the rarest Game & Watch game in existence? I don't think you could. If you did want to play this, you'd have to cough up a hell of a lot of cash, and that's even if you can find one of the buggers for sale. What I'm trying to say is, it's rare. It's really, really rare. Before we get on to the next game, there are some strobing effects due to the Virtual Boy being a bit like that. So, if you're sensitive to that kind of thing, then you have been warned. Okay? We're gonna go now. Off we go. More vaporware than a cancelled game per se, this was a title that was apparently in development according to German magazine Big N. It could even have been a hit if the console it was on hadn't flopped like a motherfucker. VB Mario Kart, as it's known, was, unsurprisingly, a Mario Kart game for the Virtual Boy. It's unclear whether or not it even existed given how obscure it seems, but the idea of a Mario Kart game on a stereoscopic 3D system sounds about as tasty as you can get, so it could very well be true. You might be wondering what you're looking at the moment, and obviously no, this isn't VB Mario Kart, because there is no footage of that game. This is a recreation of how it could have looked and played by Dog P, and it looks right on the money to us. Did the real thing ever get anywhere in development? Did it even exist? Chances are we'll never know, let alone play the damn thing. Now here's a game that actually existed and was completed! I know, I'm spoiling you. When I originally researched this game, I thought I was going to have to say, yes, you can play it on MAME, but it's a gambling machine, so it's meant to be played with money, blah 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 blah, not really the full experience, blah blah blah, but guess what? It doesn't even do that, the cheeky bugger. I could not get this thing to work at all, which is why the footage you're seeing is just as wonky as it is. Kindly provided by the Super Mario Wiki! Even though I could find the apparent files for the game, I could not get this thing to load for love nor money. And I tried both. Its artwork is largely based on Super Mario World, and it bears a striking resemblance to the bonus minigame from the same game. Like so many others, this was only released in Japan, making it pretty rare already. And there are some reports that machines of this game still exist today, but to my surprise, there's very little data on an obscure Japan-only roulette arcade machine from 1991. I've talked about this game before, and if you're wondering why it looks just like Super Mario Bros. 2 from Super Mario All-Stars on the SNES, you'd be right. It does. Well done. And that's because this is essentially a remixed version of the same game that was released exclusively in Japan on the Japan-exclusive peripheral, exclusively in Japan, the Japan-exclusive Satellaview. This was an internet-enabled device that allowed you to play games on the SNES over the internet before some people watching this were even a twinkle in the milkman's eye. You could only play this game at certain times of day, a bit like Salmon Run, and because the servers went offline many years ago, all you can do is sort of play it now with an emulator. And even that's no walk in the park. Without the official service though, the game is inherently incomplete. The real-time voice acting is missing, certain events don't trigger properly, and most of the time when you load it up, you just get this screen. It's not anything close to the full experience, and chances are it'll never be available to play as intended ever again. This one, at the very least, is lost to the ages seemingly forever. And there you have it, 5 Mario games that you may not have even played, and you certainly can't play anymore. Or maybe you can if you're very lucky. But what do you think? Are there any Mario games that you know of that you can't play anymore that you would love to? Then let us know what they are down there in the comments. And thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, then why don't you never play with that subscribe button again, except for to subscribe to Nintendo Life. And be sure to check out nintendolife.com for all sorts of lovely Nintendo related content. Thank you again for watching. Bye bye.